Today on Toypixx, a Marvel Legends What If? Marvel Red Label. Cue that intro. Well, hello there, everybody. I'm Photo Dave, and this is Toypixx. And whether this is your first or 100th time on the channel, Toypixx is all about action figure photography. It's all about helping you and helping to help me get better at our photos. So that means I'll talk about action figures, talk about photography, I'll talk about why I collect certain action figures, what's going on in that industry. I'll talk a little bit about Photoshop tips and tricks and little techniques I use to take my shots. So if any of that sounds cool to you, go ahead and hit subscribe. And aside from that, today's topic is all about kind of a what-if action figure line that I've been thinking would be really cool. It would finally be the thing that the Hasbro team at Marvel could do to top Mafex. I know. Coming from me, that's kind of nuts. But hey, hear me out, and let's get to it. Now, when designing a line to compete with someone else's line, you have to kind of pay attention to what they're really sweet at. And the things for me that Mafex is really sweet at are their articulation. They've got ridiculous, just normal articulation scheme. They've all got butterfly joints. They've all got a ball here and a ball at the waist, so it's harder to break up like a sculpt. So if there's kind of complicated paint marking going on, you can kind of twist them and everything and sort of make everything line up a little more naturally, which is good for me because of photography. They've got the little toe hinges, which honestly, sometimes they work well, sometimes they don't. But when they do work well, you can really nail some sweet poses. So the first one to me is articulation. Mafex really nails that. The second one is paint. They excel at their paint work. You very rarely, or at least I very rarely, get any kind of slop. I will see from time to time people reporting things like maybe a little bit of blue paint slipped and maybe hit flesh tone or something on their figure. And to me, I understand that we're paying more for these figures, but I also understand they're still mass-produced, and so a little bit of paint imperfection, I'm not all that bothered by it. And then the third thing that Mafex does really well are an insane number of accessories, and you know that I come at this stuff from a perspective of a toy photographer. And so when you get all the hands and the head options that a Mafex figure generally offers, that's really great for photography, not to mention all the extra weapons and accessories and blast effects. All that stuff just makes for phenomenal figures, and because of all that stuff, because of everything else that's going on with the Mafex figures, you feel like you're getting a complete figure. You don't feel like you're having to buy 3 and 4 versions of the same costume to get finally the one version that you really wanted. So those are the things when it comes to Mafex that I think if Hasbro's Marvel Legends team were looking at, for instance, they would want to either equal or top to make this Marvel Red Label line happen. Now, let's talk about Marvel Legends for just a minute, because presumably the Marvel Legends team would be the team that would have to take on a line such as a Marvel Red Label line. Marvel Legends itself, one of the reasons it's so successful is because it goes so deep into characters. And there are a lot of people that collect Marvel Legends because it goes deep when it comes to characters. So, the proposal would involve this. You wouldn't touch Marvel Legends. You would keep letting Marvel Legends go on how it's been going on, so that all those people that love the deep characters can grab them, so that all the people that love the zillion different looks of Iron Man or Wolverine can grab them. By the way, I'm not judging. I like the zillion different looks when it comes to Wolverine, because snickety. But that way, those fans could still be appeased. But here's the thing. Hasbro would have to hire a couple more people, maybe a couple more designers, maybe a painter, who knows, to work on the Marvel Red Label line, because these figures would have to try and equal what Mafex has going on. So here we are, we've had our considerations, we're talking now Marvel Red Label. Dwight now has to oversee the Legends and the Red Label teams. Poor guy, but I think he'll survive. So now they're studying Mafex. Now they're coming up with their own stuff, their own articulation scheme, their own little tolerances and clearances, and kind of their own little face sculpts, because here's one thing that I think they do have a competitive advantage in, and that is their current face printing technology. That stuff is doing great. They're doing a great job when it comes to what they're doing with Legends, when it comes to the MCU figures. I think the faces are starting to look phenomenal. They have two more competitive advantages that we don't really talk about, or that I haven't brought up yet, but things that they should think about considering the size of the market when it comes to the States specifically. One is the fact that they can start releasing, let's say they even stay on kind of a Mafex schedule. Now they're releasing 2 Marvel figures a month. Maybe one's MCU, maybe one is comic book. And then as they go, they decide which one they want to release more of, all that good stuff. My gut is that when it comes to fans, we're going to want more comic book figures. But I don't know that for sure. The sales numbers would make sure that they understood what everybody was really after. So far, there are 2 competitive advantages: face printing, and they can release 2 Marvel figures a month. Right now, Mafex maybe can release, at best, 12 a year. So you have 12 versus 24, so even though Marvel Red Label can't go as deep as Marvel Legends, it's still able to go a little deeper than Mafex. But the third competitive advantage, and the big one I think when you consider the size of the US market, is geography. It's shipping. I talked a couple days ago about how Mafex's prices for the most recent figures that they dropped, or that they have up on pre-order, are just under $70 USD, which isn't ridiculous for an import, but what kills them is the shipping that we have to pay to get them shipped over here. I pay, I think I said, between $22, $25, something like that for DHL, which is fine. I do it because I love Mafex, but imagine now if Marvel Red Label were releasing 2 figures a year, 2 figures a month, and now all they have to do is charge just regular shipping. They sell it through all the normal online channels, so we pay the shipping that they have instead of having to pay insane DHL prices. So what we're looking at right now is a figure that, say, still costs us $70. I mean, it's not cheap to produce really great figures with a whole lot of accessories and great paint and all that. So let's say that Hasbro still has to charge us $70 for these figures. That's fine. At Big Bad Toy Store, for instance, you have $70 plus tax plus a $4 shipping. That's still cheaper than what we'd be paying for a Mafex figure. So I think that's a real competitive advantage that they could, take advantage of. So now, what's the feasibility of something like this fictitious Marvel Red Label line? Gotta be honest, I don't know. With corporations going after record profit margins, with the cost of plastics going up, and most importantly, and possibly most frustratingly, shareholders always wanting their cut, I don't know that this kind of thing's even feasible. Maybe they would have to increase the price. Maybe these figures would have to be $80. I don't know, so I'm not sure what the feasibility is here. One thing I do wonder, though, is because of companies like Mafex and SH Figuarts, how much is Hasbro losing out on? And so that's kind of the question here. They have to consider, are we losing a decent amount of our profit margin to these other companies, a big enough profit margin to worry about something like a Red Label line, or are we not? And they also have to consider, Are collectors becoming increasingly dissatisfied with something like Marvel Legends, or are they not? And I'm not sure that those answers are all that clear-cut. They can do all kind of marketing analyses, but I've done marketing analyses, and it's really hard to come up with definitive answers. So, as far as feasibility is concerned, I'm not sure, but I do think it would be cool to see him try it out. Maybe the first month, as much as I'd like to see a Wolverine, they could think, okay, let's really knock it out of the park. Our flagship character is Spider-Man. Let's do a perfect Marvel Comics, totally complete Spider-Man from whichever era they chose. It's not up to me, it's up to them. And as long as the figure is perfect for the era, I think he'd sell all right. But then what's the second one? You either go with an MCU Spider-Man, or maybe a Sony Spider-Man, or, and this would be my preference because I'm that kind of nerd, a comic Green Goblin. So here you are, you're releasing 2 figures from this Marvel Red Label line. One is a comic Green Goblin, and one is a comic Spider-Man. As long as their timelines match, I think that would be a perfect way to test out the waters and see if something like this is even a little feasible. There you go, folks. My idea for Marvel Red Label. An action figure line that could compete with Mafex and SH Figuarts. I think it'd be cool, but let me know what you think. Would you be all in on a line like this? Would you rather just stick to Legends and not have something else that you want to spend your money on? Let me know in the comments. And as for everything else, I'm going to leave an affiliate link that's just goofy. I'm going to find some stupid thing. It's going to be an Amazon affiliate link below. And hey, you click on that link and you go buy something, it helps out the channel. So I do appreciate it. And hey, it's summertime, so maybe you need a floppy hat because you burn really easily. You just click that link and then you go find the floppy hat, click, done, bingo bango. Thank you. I certainly appreciate it. So folks, that's all I've got this time. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share if you're digging these videos, and hey, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.